I heard that Christian Mingle has the highest assault rate for a dating site.
Is that true?
I don't know.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's the kind of thing that would immediately have traction. Like you just created that like idea that's going to be contagious.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because like if you're a fundamentalist Christian, you believe in a death god. You believe in you do. Like it's a god that's eventually going to destroy the planet, sacrificed his child, and you worship that being. You pray to that being. So it does make sense that it's a sacrifice god. So some percentage of the people who go on Christian Mingle probably still believe the old ways and think that...
Where you sacrifice your date?
Yeah, because God in the Old Testament was always telling people, like, you must kill your son today.
Right.
Yeah, so how does, like, I'm sure people on Christian Mingle, the same thing happens where the transmission comes down. Like, if you believe in me, you will decapitate
There's probably some casual Christians, I think, that use the internet to date. Like,
sure.
Just, like a nice, yeah, they don't have to be a fundamentalist. They don't have snakes wrapped around their necks.
I don't think most Christians are into decapitation.
I don't know, man.
It's about time we debunk that stereotype. It is an awesome, terrifying God, the Old Testament God, though. I just got in a weird conversation about that with Aaron because we were talking about my Hebrew name Daniel and how I like that story in the Bible and the Old Testament God, and I was kind of talking about how I like that God, and she was she's a pastor's daughter, so she kind of like I don't know, she didn't have an objective. I was somehow offending her on accident. I didn't mean to. I was just being Joseph Campbell-y about it. I was like,
what offense did you take?
I don't know. We were probably both drunk, and
surely not.
I think that she took it to mean somehow that I preferred it to the New Testament God. I don't know. Or that
same God, isn't it?
Well, I mean, meaning that
he had a new attitude.
I think that part of the appeal of modern Christianity is that some of the barbarism and misogyny and things that the Old Testament religion is steeped in have been somehow can be somehow opted out of by way of the Terminator 2 like movie. You know, you go like, okay, well you've heard it this way, but now it's like this, which is a huge value add to the sequel.
I love the New Testament. I like reading it, and I sometimes like it's a good thing to read when you're meditating or something. You'll find a little verse, but you really do have to wade through. Like you have to have a big filter to read any part of the New Testament because
it's pretty dense.
It's not just that it's dense; it's just it always ends in like I was just reading this verse in it, which is like Christ is sending the disciples out into the world to spread the message. And he says to them, go into a town, and if they accept you, give them your blessing. And if they don't accept you, at the gates of the town, shake the dust from your feet and say to them, your town is fucked. You're so cursed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like it's a crater. Your town is going to be a crater now. So it's like,
go around and check up on them, and then if as you're leaving you don't like it, give them the
which means like you're going to get blown up. And like I like listening to Christian radio. It's really fun to listen to Christian radio, and highly recommend listening to Christian music and pretending that you're Jesus and that the songs.
What the fuck?
What?
How did those wires get crossed?
No,
I was very clear about this.
Because you will realize how creeped out Jesus would be by Christians if you listen to the way they sing to him. Because it's just like stalker music.
I said love each other and they killed me. What is this song about?
Yeah, well, this is the problem that I have. Or that I sometimes run into because I'm a respected person among people who are very intelligent. They like their science fiction. These are personalities that don't typically come with rosary beads attached to them. And modern Christianity is it's what modern American Christianity, what is that? That's not connected at all to the value of this mythology, which is that there was this guy who was kind of awesome. He's a heroic figure. He really, it's like we love Martin Luther King Jr. Like Jesus was like kind of did a lot of that kind of shit. Like sacrificed himself because he believed in people being nice to each other. And as far as the myth goes, it's like it's very empowering. And the idea of that you can be, this is because it's Christmas time. Christmas, like the Christ word means half man, half God, right? Like this is the idea that of Christ is supposed to be the idea. I thought that we can all do this. We all have it within us to wield the power of these old Babylonian, Sumerian, kind of Mesopotamian, like boogeymen, like who make the thunder crack and who make the cancer bloom and who make the cows die overnight, like all that cosmic chaos that we used to just chalk up to fuck my luck or some weird superstition. We can start to embody that power, take control of it. And because as we're doing that, we have a responsibility to each other to value human life and stuff. So like that. What does that have to do with Billy Graham? Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. That's why the Gnostics say that, or I've read that the Gnostics say that, and Graham Hancock, who's this really amazing, like far out historian, who like believes that like humans have been here much longer, and he was telling me that. The Gnostics believe that, so Satan, the first thing Satan is going to do is convince everyone that he is God or that he is Jesus. That's the move. You convince people that you're the Lord of love, and that's the person that George Bush worshipped, is actually Satan. Modern Christianity is actually Satanism, because only Satan would tell a president, you should drop bombs on Iraq. No Lord of love would say that. Like, Jesus is all love. Jesus represents love, like love at all costs, love no matter what, love everyone and forget about yourself. You lose yourself completely in love, and that's what I think Christianity is. But somehow it gets diverted, and they say this is because of that Roman emperor who recognized that Christianity was spreading and wanted to make it a state religion, and that's why they had that gathering of people. They're like, okay, this love thing's great, but we still need to decapitate and murder people and set things on fire. So what
just set up all these like weird rules, like a country club, like about the Trinity and what pants you can wear, and it's all ridiculous. I mean, but and by the way, so is any like organized sect of Taoism, Buddhism. Like if you let the bread out long enough, like you come back 10 minutes later and the biggest dickhead in the room is in charge. Like the guy who says like let's all do it this way and let's all do it that way. Go fuck yourself. Like religion is supposed to be a personal tie between an individual and the unknown. The very concept of organized religion is incredibly problematic. Now, I'm not saying let's do away with organizing spiritual conversations, organizing religion at all. But what I am saying is that's not religion. Well, the things that you're talking to other people about are not your relationship with the unknown. Jesus said that, by the way. I mean, he said a lot of shit, but he talked about how basically prayers that you do in front of other people they're fine and good, but they don't really count.
Yeah, he said don't pray on the street corners like whoever they are do. I can't remember.
You should be in a closet somewhere, like meditating about this, like really atoning with this thing that can fuck you up.
You know that book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross by John Marcus Allegro? Have you ever heard of that?
Like it. I have a quote on the dust jacket. God, devil in the baked beans is by whatever you just said. That's
the devil in the baked beans was his second book.
I'm largely responsible for that book's tremendous sales.
His theory is that Christianity started as a mushroom cult, and he has all these amazing pictures of.
What do you mean by mushroom cult?
A mushroom cult where that Jesus was a mushroom, and that the whole thing was like talking about the information they were getting was coming from eating mushrooms. Like the God sacrifice was imbibing mushrooms, and the communion was actually mushrooms, which is why like the instruction for communion is before you take communion, you should forgive your enemies. You have to make sure that you've forgiven everyone, because if you're going to go on a mushroom trip and you go there in a bad headspace, it'll be terrible. So the whole thing is like a veiled mushroom cult. And there's awesome pictures of like in these early Christian churches of Adam and Eve, and they're standing underneath clearly a mushroom, like they're standing next to, there's all these pictures of mushrooms. And it's like, this is what's that? It's the tree of knowledge. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil was actually a mushroom. And that's Terence McKenna's idea, which is like the stoned ape theory, that like proto-hominids took mushrooms, and that's what caused this massive expansion of the neocortex way back when, is because mushrooms grow on the shit of bovine animals, which is what early proto-hominids would have been hunting. And since we're omnivores, we would have been eating the mushrooms.
I could believe that, because there's a shared experience on mushrooms. Like psilocybin has a sort of set of almost inarticulable, but by now we've figured out that it's shared. The type of consciousness shift that you have on mushrooms. It always has. I mean, sometimes you have a bad trip. Sometimes you think your friend is a Dracula.
Yeah.
Sometimes you come to Harmontown wearing underwear and a Santa hat.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Russian equivalent of ho ho.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Because it really is like this weird, like people talk about, you know, like straight-laced people who would never like who associate drugs with criminality, but who for one reason or another ended up taking this psilocybin thing. They report the same experience as a groovy dude. They have the same sort of weird momentary realization about perspective, and an uplifting one, not one that makes you feel like a meaningless speck in an infinite universe, but one that makes you feel like you're connected to all things.
Yeah, and imagine doing that instead of doing it at a party or in your apartment. Imagine being in some early ancient Christian church with incense burning and people saying these weird chants, and you're eating the mushrooms with the intention of connecting with the Godhead. That would be a very intense trip. But, you know, it would, and it'd be amazing, which is why sometimes I think of modern Christianity as people who it's like people who have stacked wood, and they're putting their hands in front of the wood and pretending there's a fire there, but they haven't lit the wood on fire. And the psychedelic is what ignites the fire. And that's what really creates the true feeling of the presence of God. By the way, you know the whole thing about Christmas, of course, and Santa Claus is actually a representation of the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Yeah, man, totally. Like
Everybody right now, reach under your seats. You'll find a mushroom.
Yeah, no, totally.
In 45 minutes, it's just going to get wow.
Look, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about it. Google search it, but the color of the Amanita muscaria mushroom is red and white, which is exactly the color that Santa Claus wears.
But that was a later day thing. He was originally not red and white. That was a very later day 50s, 40s Coca-Cola thing. He was green and white up until very recently.
Well, sometimes the Amanita muscarias are green and white.
Yeah, all right.
Whatever fits into my mushroom story, asshole.
You know, one thing that academics...
But I love the angle, though. That, like, what if we just did prove that Santa and Jesus was just all about mushrooms?
Yeah, I don't think it's that big a leap. I mean, I really don't. It's complimentary color. Yeah, well, also, they say that the Druids would hang these mushrooms to dry on pine trees, and that's the whole like hanging shit on trees actually comes from drying these mushrooms out to do this like psychedelic ritual. And I'll shut up about mushrooms, but there's one more point I want to make, which is that the Druids would drink each other's piss, because if you eat mushrooms, the psilocybin still stays in the urine, and so
they just couldn't get enough.
They couldn't get enough, yeah. Or they drink their own piss to like start tripping again, which you can do if.
And they used to actually leave out a plate and glass of piss.
Right.
Yes.
By a chimney.
So you know this
Yes, I read the book.
You know, one thing that when I went through like a heavy duty kind of like I think I'm getting more into Jesus mythology because of Campbell and stuff like that. So I watched Jesus Christ Superstar again and was like, this is really cool. And I watched some documentaries and stuff. And
Campbell so compelled you by the myth of Jesus Christ that you went right out and rented Jesus Christ Superstar.
I did, and that's a catchy one, man. I took Erin to see that in New York. She was blown away. She had only ever seen Godspell, man. Jesus Christ
that
Superstar
will convert you.
Eats Godspells like for breakfast. Yeah. All right. So one more thing, and then we'll get off of Jesus because I just got off of him an hour ago. You know what I'm saying?
Dustin, can we edit in lightning and thunder? Or sleigh bells.
I thought one of the more, but there's biblical historians, that kind of line between academics and the people that are sort of researching the actual historical person, Jesus. There's some of them believe that the reason for sort of his personality, his character, his message that he brought was that as a youngster growing up, he was an apprentice to his dad, who probably would have been a stonemason, not a carpenter. And I don't know, did he grow up in Jerusalem or wherever he was like spending his younger years when you kind of like don't? I think wasn't he was.
Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah, thank you, sir. But is he Jesus who hung out in Nazareth till he was 38, or is he Jesus who was born in Nazareth and he was
born in Long Beach.
Yeah, and then he lived in that. Anyways, when he was apprenticing for his dad, he would have been in this tremendous port city, being a stonemason, would have been exposed if he was working in imports and exports as a stonemason might in that city, been exposed to a lot of Eastern philosophy coming in off of those same docks. I don't know, talking out of my butt, but I always thought that was interesting. Ask some academic.
But Eastern philosophy from the west side of Africa. Okay,
It's the least wonderful time of the year. Adam Goldberg storms the stage.
I don't know.
I got my wish from Russian Santa. How's it going? You're really warm. You're really warm. I'm not going to touch you anymore. You're really warm. But...
All right. What topic do you have ownership over this evening? What is it that we said that made you entitled to?
Look, religion. The idea that the majority of religion. How much of religion did you attribute to mushrooms? At least all of it, or just the big one that the other ones?
I didn't attribute to. I was citing a book that.
This isn't a TED Talk or a Senate hearing. Like nothing's gonna happen if you don't do anything.
You're right.
If you just listen, the worst case scenario is a good show. That's it. If you just listen, nobody's gonna kick in your door tomorrow night and go. You didn't say anything when Duncan Trussell said mushrooms were religion. Now you gotta come.
They came for Duncan Trussell and I did nothing, and then they came for the stonemasons and I did nothing, and then they kicked in my door.
Don't bring the Holocaust into this.
I was gonna bring in the expulsion that happened 400 years ago in Prague, but whatevs. So. Religion
also, don't bring
religion is a really important personal force. I believe that a lot of what our spiritual journeys do take place internally, but the idea that the representation of religion is something that people go together to ignore God and just to worship a fire that isn't there just seems problematic as someone who's had a lot of his religious... I played the fuck out of Linus when I was in Charlie Brown. I did not puke on my director when I was in Charlie Brown. Was that... I was going to end my speech by singing We Wish You a Merry Christmas. But I'm going to... All right. As someone who's had a lot of wonderful experiences being around people around the Christmas tree, spending... holidays, lighting the menorah, doing things like that.
Yes.
When you see religion as something that doesn't connect you one way to God, but you to God, to everyone else that you're willing to spend time with, religion can be a wonderful social leveler. It can be a reason to get out of your house. It can be a reason to visit the invalid. And charity, and especially Christian charity, is not something that is easy. It is something that we choose to do because of what we believe to help people out who are less fortunate, who are more Goldbergian than Harmonian, let's say, in our society. I'm not... Hallelujah! You're booing me and you prove my point, but... the losers, the people who trip over the words, the people who have... The only tie that we have to them in our society is that they have their names written in the same type of book in the beginning of pages where you keep the family history, the same scroll, the same commandments. That's...
Crucify him!
He's here to save Christmas, you guys. Adam Goldberg came on stage.
And it's the reason that we go into the cold and the snow, and we'd rather be playing Xbox, and we sing, "We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year." Thank you.
Adam Goldberg. Adam Goldberg, everybody.